Hey y'all, how you doing? Had somebody here at the early service this morning, and she said, "You're Southern." She said, "You're not a hillbilly or redneck, you're Southern." And I'm like, I'm not sure what that means, but I'll take it. Anyway, I hope you guys have had a great spring break. If you've been on spring break, if you haven't, the rest of the state of Georgia has been on spring break. So it's amazing to me. It's like everybody goes, "We're leaving for a week." So anyway, I know some people are still traveling back and all that. So I'm just glad that we have air conditioning. That's really all I got to say because I'm hot. Anyway, there is just a lot of really good stuff going on. And so I hope you're getting ready for all that. If you're watching online today and you're kind of settling in, I'll be talking for the next 4 hours. So get something comfortable. Go ahead and throw it up on the TV, lay down on the couch, be comfortable for a while. No, not really. But I do want to encourage you, if you're watching online today and if you're local, somewhere within driving distance of one of our campuses, then I would really encourage you to be here in person on Easter Sunday if you can. And I just, online is great, and the number of people watching online just continues to escalate. But I know a lot of times people watch online and then they say, so now we watched for a few weeks, and so now we'll go and give Southcrest a test drive. And so if that's sort of what you're doing, I would really encourage you to be here on Easter Sunday. And we've got 2 services that day at 9 and 11 here, and at 9:30 and 11 at our LaGrange campus. And so I really hope that you'll choose to do that. And speaking of LaGrange, you guys are amazing. And as a matter of fact, I'm coming down to hang out some in LaGrange this afternoon. So I'm looking forward to doing all that and spending some time with you guys there this afternoon. So I'm pretty excited about all that. And last night, my short hot wife, Lori, and I were driving back from G Vegas, otherwise known as Greenville, South Carolina. We're helping one of our sons move. And by the way, if you have this thought that once your kids move to college, that you will never have to help them move again, you need to get off the drugs. Because it is I think we do this about every 3 weeks. We help one of our kids move somewhere. It's what it feels like. But anyway, so we were driving back last night. It was late. And so we're on the north side of Atlanta. And, and I'm a Wazer. Any Wazers in here? You use Waze to get around, right? So it's, my life has completely changed. I actually know everybody's phone number. Now I know like 3 phone numbers because I just say, "Hey, Siri," and she calls the people for me. But anyway, I use Waze a lot. Just to get around. I have no idea how to get anywhere anymore. I just put the address in Waze and we go there. And, it's just another woman telling me how to drive, basically. And so, turn left. No, I don't want to turn left. So I'm having this moment with Waze last night because and I've done this many times over the last 6 or 7 months, but you're on the north side of Atlanta and you're screaming down I-85 and you're heading down towards Noonan and LaGrange, then, in that moment, you've got to make the choice, right? Are you going to jump on 285 and go around, or are you going to go through downtown because you can jump in the HOV lanes for free coming downtown, and you can drive 140 miles an hour in the HOV lanes? I wasn't supposed to say that, was I? But anyway, you can get to, sometimes, usually I feel like I can get through downtown a little faster. And so Waze, this woman tell me how to drive is like, take exit 95A. I'm like, I don't want to. So anyway, I didn't. So I kept going straight. I should have listened to this woman tell me how to drive. I should have. So I kept going. She kept saying, turn around. I'm like, I don't want to turn around. So anyway, we kept going. And so sure enough, the big sign on the side of 85, it tells you there's a serious wreck ahead. That was like, wreck last night. So I'm like, oh man, North Druid Hills, we're stuck. But she came through. She got me around it and all that kind of stuff. And so we get back on I-85. Right in front of the wreck. And Lord goes, did you see that? I'm like, I'm driving. When I'm looking at things when I'm driving, you don't like it. So I'm tired, 10 and 2 on the road. She said, no, there's fire trucks turned sideways in the road. You should see this. I'm like, we're going to add to whatever's going on there. Let's not. But are you one of those people when you see a wreck that you're like, ooh, or you want to be like, I'm afraid of what I'll see. I don't want to look over there. But that slows everything down, right? Or maybe you've been in a wreck, right? And you've been in a wreck, and hopefully you weren't seriously hurt. But have you ever noticed that when you're in a wreck and somebody hits you, man, you come uncoiled out of that car and you're like, "Arr!" And you were just ready to get after them in that moment and say, look, you scratched my bumper. But then, or somebody's walking there and go, oh, it's no big deal, it's okay. But when it's your fault, do you ever come out of the car angry? No, you can't come out of the car and go, I'm sorry. I was really paying attention. I'm not sure what happened. And we have this whole explanation thing, right? And when it benefits us, right, we want justice. We want somebody to go, look, that is wrong. And we want somebody to speak out, and we want justice on our behalf. But when it's our fault, we want mercy. Right? We want, yeah, of course, I realize you blew it, but it doesn't really matter. We want mercy when it's our fault. We want justice when it's somebody else's fault. That's sort of our default setting, right? And so what I want to talk about for just a few minutes today is I want to talk about forgiveness. And here's the thing, and tune in with me right here, okay? This is really important. And if you're online today, really, lean in here. And there's some good things that you might want to do some screen grabs on today while we're talking. But look, here's the thing. There's been so much really bad teaching about forgiveness in the church, and it has been used to manipulate people. I'm talking about the church in general. It has been used to manipulate people, to control people, to take advantage of people. And so I want to take a look today and say, look, let's see what forgiveness is, and let's understand what this is, and who is it really for, and what does it really do? And specifically, when we get to the end of the day, I'm going to give you some steps about how to forgive. Because here's the thing, a lot of people talk about forgiveness, and they say they understand it, but then you say, well, do you know how to forgive somebody? And they go, well, no, not really. And so that's what we're going to do, because I think in the church we talk a lot about forgiveness and about being kind to other people, but we don't know how to forgive, and so we get confused about that somewhat. So I have got some supplementary material that I'm putting online today, and it's on our website, and you can find it at southcrest.church/forgiveness. And I would encourage you today, when you leave here, it's in PDFs, and so you can download it, and that way you can have it on your phone or on your laptop or whatever, and you can have it, because every single person in this room, you have been hurt. Every single person watching online, you have been hurt, and you're going to be hurt again. Somebody's going to take advantage of you. They're going to forget about you. They're going to say something to you. They're going to not say something to you. They're going to do something to you or not do something to you, whatever. You're going to be hurt. And so I'm trying to give you some good tools that you can use to work through when you've been hurt, because when we get hurt, we then respond. And I want to show you how to respond in such a way that you can be healed. Because there are a lot of people, and you are bound up. And you don't want to talk about it, but something's happened to you, and you just pretend that it's not there sometimes, but in the middle of the night, it keeps you awake. You have the bad dreams, you have the nightmares, you have the thoughts that you can't get rid of, you have these things that you can't shake, you see people who have hurt you and other people. You compare other people to people who have hurt you, and some of it has happened on Thursday night, some of it happened 12 years ago. But I want to give you tools to help you walk in freedom and not to be so bound up all the time. So that's sort of what we're doing here a little bit. So let's talk about forgiveness a little bit. Now, we're going to look at a passage of scripture today from Matthew chapter 18. So if you want to get there, you can. And now you can follow along. It'll take me a couple more minutes to get there. But here's really what's going on is Jesus is talking about forgiveness. And Peter says, hey, let me kind of show you. I understand forgiveness. And he says, Jesus, how many times should I forgive? I should forgive 7 times. And because Peter goes, I got it. But it turns out he didn't understand it. He didn't get it. And so Jesus explains what forgiveness looks like to him. And so I think if you don't quite understand forgiveness, it's sort of a new concept to you. You're not alone. One of Jesus' disciples, Peter, he had a hard time wrestling with and understanding forgiveness. And so hopefully today will give you some good opportunity to understand that as well. But first, let's talk about what forgiveness is not. Let's talk about that first. So forgiveness, and I've got a dozen of these. And so if you want to see them later on, it's too much to write right now. You can get them off my Facebook page about 12:30 or so today. Okay? So it says forgiveness is not, number one, it's justifying, understanding, or explaining away someone's hurtful behavior. Well, she did that, but she didn't really mean it. he said it, but he wasn't thinking. He's been going through a hard time, so it's understandable. He didn't know. That is not forgiveness, right? Number two, forgiveness is not the passage of time. It is not this whole idea that time heals all wounds. Time does not heal all wounds. Sometimes time makes wounds worse. Sometimes those wounds get infected. If you want to use that metaphor, sometimes it leads to amputation, all kinds of problems. But it is not, listen, give it some more time. Just give it some more time. Things will get better. No, that's not what it is whatsoever. It's not the absence of feeling anger. It's saying, well, you know what? They hurt me. I don't even think about it anymore. I'm not angry anymore. First of all, I say, liar, liar, pants on fire. No, you're still angry. And I'll tell you in a minute what's really happened with that anger. I'll go ahead and tell you now, is that, maybe what's happened with that anger is that you have been angry for so long that has become depression. And I'll save you thousands of dollars of counseling right here, okay? But basically, depression is stuffed down anger. And it has sat there long enough to where you've gotten discouraged, distant, detached, and depressed. It's because somebody did something to you and you didn't deal with it. And it's hurting you and the lives of everybody else in your life. That's why forgiveness is not the absence of feeling anger. Number four, it's not asking God to forgive them. So we know that those people, they won't ask God who hurt me. They won't ask God to forgive them. So I'm going to ask God to forgive them on their account. I'm going to do that for that. I know that's not what it is either. It's not going to the person who hurt me and asking for their forgiveness. So you know what, you hurt me, but I thought some really bad things about you, so I'm just coming to you and saying that, will you forgive me? Because you think, well, if I say, well, will you forgive me? Then they'll say, well, you forgive me. And so we get this whole thing all confused sometimes. Forgiveness also is not denying that I have really been hurt. No, it's no big deal. It's okay. I'm all right. I'll live through this. It's not denial. That's not forgiveness at all. Forgiveness is not pretending that the hurt was really not that big of a thing. See, here's the thing. Everybody in here, you have been hurt. And it's not a contest to see who's been hurt the worst. Because what we could do is I could hand you a microphone and say, okay, who wants to go first? And we would have a line of people who says, well, this is what somebody did to me. Because, see, your hurt is personal. And because your hurt is personal, in those moments, it is real. And it is not a contest saying, well, my hurt's not as bad as yours or my hurt is worse than yours. It's not like that at all. No, your hurt is real and deep and painful and personal. And so, yeah, we're going to walk through that and we're going to wrestle with that some. But we're not going to pretend that it was not a big thing. That is not forgiveness. Somebody says, hey, just get over it. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is not acting as if it never happened. Forgiveness is not saying, well, I'm just going to pretend that it never happened. I'm just going to stick my head in the ground like an ostrich, sticking his head in the sand and say, no, it's not really something that happened. Forgiveness is not saying, let's just forget about it. Forgiveness is not forgetting. I've used this illustration here before, but once something's happened, it's there. You got to deal with it. It's like toothpaste coming out of the toothpaste tube. You can't put the toothpaste back in the toothpaste tube. It's just, it's there. It's a mess, right? You can't ignore it. You got to say, no, this is something real. Let's just deal with this. One of my sons this weekend on yesterday morning got a new puppy, and so you know what happens to new puppies? They leave their house and they're in a new house and they're a little nervous, they're a little stressed out, right? So this puppy's like, hey, I like this. This is kind of cool. I'll poop right here in the middle of the floor. Right, and nobody goes, we'll just pretend that never happened. We're just going to walk around this little pile of poop and pretend it's not in the room. No, it's a mess. You got to do something about it. You can't sit there and say, look, let's just forget about it. No, you got to do something about it. You got to get in there and get it cleaned up, right? So it's not saying let's just forget about it. Number 10, this is huge. Believing that the broken relationship must be restored and I must be reconciled to the offender. That the forgiveness does not, we think forgiveness does not happen until the relationship has been restored. That is not forgiveness. That is reconciliation. We're going to talk about that a little bit next week. In June, we're going to talk about that a lot. We're doing a series from the Beatitudes after Easter. So one Sunday, we'll talk about reconciliation, and we will just dive into that. But look, reconciliation, and the thing is you might not be able to be reconciled to that person. That person might be dead. You might not be able to find that person. That person might not be willing to speak to you, meet with you, read something you write to them. You might not be able to reconcile with them. Reconciliation is not always possible. Forgiveness is always possible. Because see, forgiveness, and see, this is why people don't want to let go of it, because you're like, I got him. You don't want to let go of it. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. I mean, if I could get you to hang on to something today before words, forgiveness is about me. Forgiveness is about me. Forgiveness is about me. Because you're the one who's trapped. You're the one who's hurt. It's not about the other person. And see, and that's part of the reason that sometimes in the church that teaching has gotten so off kilter is because we sit there and go, well, I don't want to let go of that. I want to hang on to that. I want to hang on to that person who hurt me because it's a way of controlling them. You cannot control another person. Right? You're angry and you want to win. Look, you don't speak worlds into existence. You can't control other people. God chooses not to control us. We're not a bunch of puppets. Does he have the capacity to do that? Yeah. But you cannot say, look, I'm just going to stay angry at her, right? You know, you have this argument with your wife and say, I'm just going to sit over here until she comes in here and she says, I am sorry. I was wrong. Will you forgive me? And you sit there and stew for 2 hours. And then she comes in and you think, I am winning because you're about being right, not making a difference, right? She comes in and she says, I'm sorry. Then you go, that was a terrible tone of voice. You want to try that again? I don't like your tone. No, listen, that's not even close to forgiveness. That's not what it is. We don't hang on to something just so we can say, I'm going to control you. I'm going to use you. I'm going to manipulate you. That's not it. That's not it. That's not forgiveness. Number 11, going to the person and telling them you forgive them. That's not forgiveness. It's not just some words. And you say, well, look, I've kind of gotten over it. I'm not hurting more. Let me prove to you I'm not hurting more. And so the last one is taking them a cake. Being nice, or I'm turned the other cheek. And you say, because this is a conversation somebody has with you at some point. This has ever happened to you? They come to you and they say, well, I think you should forgive him. And you said, why? I think you should forgive them. I already have. Why? Why do you say that? Well, I can tell by tone of your voice. What are you talking about? I can tell you're still angry. Because, see, that's what happens. See, the other thing I would want to tell you besides forgiveness is about me, the other thing I really want you to latch on to today is very simply this. Forgiveness is not an emotion. Forgiveness is a decision. You decide to forgive someone. Now, we don't want to do that because we've been hurt. I've been hurt. You've been hurt. I want to be real sensitive to that. I don't know what your hurt is. I don't know how much of it there is, but I know it's real. And in those moments when you're dealing with it, it's as bad as anything else going on in your life. I know that. I understand that. See, what happens is that after we have been hurt, what happens is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hold on to the anger. Is what we want to do. It's like, I got this because see, if I got it, I can control you. I can make you do something. And see, and that's why, you see, because see, what happens is somebody has taken something from us. And when somebody's taken something from us, then we start saying, you owe me. So, Arthur, what do you mean? Listen, you have a conversation with your wife. It doesn't go well. And you say, she owes me. Your husband made a promise to you, but he didn't follow through. You say, he owes me. Your dad left. You didn't get the chance to grow up in a home like your friends did. He owes you. Your mother said that she was going to not step into your business, and she did. She owes you. Your daughter promised you that she would never, ever, but she did. She owes you. Your son told you that you could count on him, and he didn't, and he owes you. Your boss told you, I got this great offer for you, and he didn't follow through. He owes you. Why do we think of it that way? Because what do you say? You say, they owe me an apology. She should come talk to me. I'm not the one that's going to talk to her. She should come talk to me. But Arthur, you don't understand my story. You don't understand what I've gone through. You don't understand the circumstances. You don't understand the background. You don't understand how long it's gone on. You don't understand how I've reached out to them and they won't even talk to me. You don't understand. You don't get it. We hold on to the anger, don't we? Like, I got it, because it makes us feel that we have control over them. And so we hold on to it. I'm holding on to it. I'm holding on to it. And then you know you haven't forgiven somebody because you're holding on to this anger. And the second thing is you start having imaginary conversations with these people, don't you? If I could just talk to them, I would tell them. Right? And it's not only what you would tell them, but it's what you would tell them in front of a crowd of people. They hurt you. I want to hurt you worse. And then what do we do? We start telling other people how we've been wrong. Do you see what happened to me? Do you see where this went? Do you see where this, I mean, and we start having these friends going, yeah, you're right, that's awful. I can't believe they would do that to you. I can't believe they said that about you. I can't believe they forgot about you. I can't believe that they promised. And so you start getting all these other people on your side like, yes, I am right. I'm good. This is amazing because I knew I was right and he was wrong, and it just stews and stews and stews. And what do? And we just stuff our emotions, and we stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff, and eventually you stuff enough, and what happens? You throw it up, and it's messy for everybody around you. And I already told you this, but when we stuff our emotions, you stuff the anger over time. The anger becomes depression. That's what it is. You were hurt, you got angry, you didn't deal with it, and now you're depressed. So Jesus says, hey, listen, here's a way to handle this. So let's see what Jesus has to say, all right? So I'm in Matthew chapter 18, beginning in verse 21. Because I think sort of bottom line for a lot of us is we get to this point and we go, you know what? Somebody's hurt me. They should beg me for forgiveness. It's not about them. See, we hang on to it because we want to control them. And if I can control them, then what will happen is I can do something about it. Let God do something about it. Well, I don't think God works fast enough. I get that. I understand that. Look, I've had times in my life where I feel like, God, you should do something much more severe than what you're doing. Okay, could you create boils on their face? Okay, could you make like their hand like literally explode right now? Right, and you sit there and think, well, you know, if this happened to them, I would feel bad for them, but I would kind of like it. God can take care of it. And he will not just take care of it in that moment, but he can take care of it for forever. Okay, I ain't got time to talk about that today. I got to hurry. Okay, I'm in Matthew 18, verse 21. It says, then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? And so Peter goes, hey, I got a great idea. How about 7 times? And Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. In other words, over and over and over again, no matter what goes on, you need to forgive him because it's not about them. It's about you, Peter. But you don't get it. So let me tell you this parable. So maybe after I tell you this parable, maybe you'll get some understanding. He says, therefore, the kingdom of heaven, this is Jesus talking, he says he may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. When he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. That's a lot of money. That's like more money than you could repay in a lifetime. Now, we can attach a dollar figure to it, but it doesn't really matter. It's more than somebody could repay in a lifetime, a huge amount of debt. And since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold. Said, listen, you can't pay me. You're never going to be able to pay me back. There's no way you'll ever get enough assets to do this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell you. I'm going to get what I can get out of you because I'm just cutting my losses. I'm going to sell you. I'm going to sell your wife. I'm going to sell your kids. I'm going to sell your house. And whatever's left, I'll take all that, whatever assets you have, I'm going to liquefy them. I'm going to take it, and I'm cutting my losses, and I'm done with you. He says, since he could not pay, his master ordered him to be sold with his wife and his children and all that he had and payment to be made. So the servant fell on his knees. He's begging. He's asking his master, like, please, please, please don't do this. He's imploring him. He says, have patience with me and I will pay you everything. You have to imagine the people that are listening to Jesus teach. Some of them start laughing or maybe muttering under their breath, and there's no way. There's no way anybody can ever pay this much money back. There's no way. He said, there's no way that this guy's going to say, okay, never mind. I mean, you're talking about a lifetime worth of debt. There's no way he's going to forgive that. And it says, and out of pity for him, which, and the word pity, the old word for pity, it translates the same as love. So out of a deep love for him, the master of that servant released him and forgave him the debt. Now, you may have a translation that you're reading now this morning, and it doesn't say forgave him the debt. It says canceled the debt. That's a really good translation too. It's like tomorrow morning you are looking, before you go to work, looking through your bills and you see you still owe hundreds of thousands of dollars on your house. And you kind of go, oh, I better go to work. Got to make the house payment. And you come home tomorrow evening and you open the mail and there's a letter from your lender, and the letter from your lender says, I have canceled the debt on your house. It's yours. It's something more than you could take care of by yourself. But like, okay, it's gone. It's done. The debt has been canceled. And it says, that's what happened here. You owed a huge debt, but the debt has been canceled. And then it goes on. He says, but when that same servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants owed him 100 denarii. That's not a lot. Basically, at this point in history, 1 denarii was 1 day's wage, so a laborer would make a denarii a day. So this is not a lot of money. This might be a few days' worth of salary, maybe a month's worth of salary, but not a huge amount of money. And he says, and he seized him, and he began to choke him, saying, pay what you owe. That was my best pirate impersonation. How was that? Not too good. Okay. So anyway, he said, pay what you owe. He says, so his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him. Right? So this guy owes just a little bit of money, and he does the same thing. He's, please, 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 have patience with me. And I will pay you. But the guy who just had a huge debt, more than a lifetime worth of debt, canceled, that guy, he refused and went and put the other servant in prison until he should pay the debt. Now, when his fellow servants saw what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their master all that had taken place. So his master summoned him and said to him, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt. I mean, a lifetime of debt I forgave to you because you pleaded with me. So somebody owes just a little bit of debt, pleads with you, and what do you do to them? You have them thrown in prison. He says, and should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant, as I had mercy on you? Now, mercy is getting what you don't deserve. We use the terms grace and mercy interchangeably, but they're not the same. Grace is what you need when you need it. Mercy is getting what you don't deserve. You don't deserve to be set free. You don't deserve to have this debt canceled. You don't deserve any of that. It says, but I showed you mercy. You have the capacity to show someone mercy, but you're not showing someone mercy, is what Jesus is saying, because Peter is putting all this together and says, okay, so the king is God, and there's me who's not willing to forgive, and I'm putting conditions on it, and how many times I'm willing to do it. And I think it's about me, and it's not about me. I think it's about the other person, but really it's about me. It's about me. It's about me. It's about me. And it says, and his anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay all his debt. And see, this is one of those things where we see this and think, oh, that's what God does. If you don't do things the way God wants you to do them, he's going to come after you, and he's going to get you, and he's going to smash you, because God is out to get you, and he's going to pound you and work you over. And if you don't do what he wants you to do when you want him to do it, he is going to ruin your life. And that's not what's going on whatsoever, because sometimes what God does, and we talked about this last week a lot, but you know, what God does is says, listen, you're not getting it. And God doesn't punish his children. He disciplines us. He says, I want you to get this. And so he says, I'm going to sit you over here to the side just a little bit, because I want you to get this. I want you to understand this. And sometimes we don't get that because we don't understand that God's trying to teach us something in that moment, right? So, you know, we have big dogs at my house. I've told you about my dogs, right? I have a dog, and she's a yellow lab. And, you know, she's old, but she's great. She's fat. She's fat, right? So we have another dog, and that one's Hannah's dog, my daughter. And she may be the prettiest dog I've ever seen. We like Labradors. So anyway, beautiful dog, fatter. Right. So we go to the vet this week, and so the vet comes in there and says, she's kind of chunky. You just walk in the room and you start calling my dog chunky? I mean, I'm offended. Look, I know the girl thick. I know that. But don't be calling, it's like calling my wife fat. Man, I'm going to hit you in the face. Don't be doing that. I mean, you don't walk in, hey, you know, she's kind of chunky. I'm like, let me tell you about you. Right? And so, but, you know, we've known this. I've known that, you know, she needs to cut back a little bit. But, I mean, that just happened to be the thing that, you know, got everybody at our house in agreement that we're going to start feeding the dogs less food. Now, I've been waging this battle for some time, and so I was pretty excited about it, right? So, but here's the deal. And so, I mean, so we put the dogs on a diet. And just so you know, everybody in the world hates diets. If they were fun, we would call them livets. But they're not livets, they're diets. And so the whole deal is that, I mean, we're giving them a quarter to a half a cup less food than they were getting. I mean, little bit. So anyway, I come home and I say, hey, big girls, because I talk to my dogs a lot, because sometimes nobody else will talk to me, right? And so, you know, I talk to them a lot, and I tell them that they're doofuses, and they say, well, you know, you're the one who picks up our poop. And I'm like, well, just because they make me. And I give them a hard time because they don't have thumbs. I'm like, you know, you could do this, but you don't have a thumb. You can't even open the door, right? And, you know, sometimes I said, you can't even tie a knot in the poop bag because you don't have thumbs. So don't think you're all that in a bag of chips. So I have this conversation with them a lot. I talk with them about their issues. But so we put them on this diet, and I don't know if you've ever done this before, but when you cut back on a dog's food, they get really mad. Now, I mean, they don't start, you know, like, you know, barking or running around in circles or stuff like that. I mean, the first night, you know, feed them a little less food, and they just come back, and I'm sitting in a chair, hanging out with Hannah. Lori's hanging out in there too, and, you know, and we're kind of watching TV and scrolling the phones. I know nobody else has ever done that, but that's sort of what we're doing. And we're sitting there, and the dogs, I mean, both of them, I mean, and they're both 100-pound dogs, right? I mean, just come up, and they're right beside me, just doing this. 45 minutes. They did not move. Like, you're a doofus. You get out of your chair and go put some food in my bowl. Hannah said, made him leave. She said, stop it. And I just said, if you had thumbs, you could go get your own food, couldn't you? You could open up the food jar, couldn't you? Right? And see, so what I was doing, things are going to be difficult for them for a while, but it's for their own good, right? And God does things with us sometimes that are a little difficult, but he does it for us for our own good because he knows that long term we're going to be better off doing that, right? So I told you all that. I wanted to tell you that before I read you this next verse because the next verse is going to make some of you in here mad. So also my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. Now, don't read that and sit there and thinking God is going to make you forgive somebody. And if you don't, he is going to unleash the fury of heaven at you. That's not what it means. That if you don't forgive somebody, he's going to ruin you. No, none of that. No. God's just trying to get your attention. He wants to get your attention because he wants you to be free. He doesn't want you to be trapped and stuck. Listen, God knows that if you realize, if you refuse to forgive, that you're going to drive your life into a ditch. He knows that. He wants your life to be better than you want it to be. And if you refuse to forgive, you're going to get more and more and more angry. You're going to get depressed. You're not going to sleep through the night. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to have worries. You're going to have fears. You're going to have uncertainties. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse because you have chosen to live that way. And he wants you to forgive because he loves you so much. So I don't let that other person off the hook. I'm not talking about that other person. Another story for another day. I'm talking about you. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes I talk to students, and students are angry. And it's not because something happened to them last night. It's because something happened to them 3 or 4 years ago. And they won't let go. I talk to newlywed couples, and they're so in love with one another, but they're just, they've started fighting, right? And I'm like, but you start asking them some questions, and it turns out that one of them was hurt years ago. It has nothing to do with each other because they love each other so much, and that's what's the real problem. I talk to people in their 40s. They've been married for 20 years. They love each other to death, won't do anything in the world for one another. But all of a sudden, they can't get along anymore. You know why? Because one of them got hurt, or both of them got hurt years ago. Not by someone in the marriage, by somebody else. And they're just trapped. They're just beaten down. See, we lost our right not to forgive when Jesus forgave us. And look, I understand it hurts. But for your own sake, you got to let it go. Quit holding onto it. Let go of it. Look, God's not asking you to die for their sin. He just says, cancel the debt. Just cancel the debt. They're never going to be able to pay you back. They owe you more than they could ever pay back, don't they? Because if they said they were sorry, it wouldn't be good enough. If they wrote you a letter, it wouldn't be good enough. If they took out an ad in USA Today and put it across the back page of USA Today and said, I'm sorry for doing this, it wouldn't be enough. They can't repay you for what they've taken. Cancel the debt. Just cancel the debt. I don't want to let them off the hook. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you. Look, always think of forgiveness in terms of canceling a debt. All right? So let me show you how to do this. First thing you do, identify what has been taken. Now you need to be very specific about this. Here's what we want to do. We say we've been hurt generally, so we should forgive generally. No, it won't work. There's a specific debt that you owe. When you look at your credit card statement, there are very specific things on there for what you spent. Okay? When they hurt you, they didn't hurt you just one way. It hurt all kinds of ways, didn't it? It hurt you financially. It hurt you emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Hurt you all kinds of ways. They said one sentence and it hurt all kinds of ways. Okay? You need to identify what has been taken. All right? Now, the things I put online for you that I suggest putting a chair across from you and have an imaginary conversation with that person. And maybe you need to write these things down. So when you said, Sally, when you said so and so, fill in the blank, it made me feel like fill in the blank. Okay, you have to be specific. You have to be specific. Okay? You identify what's been taken from you. Look, and this is how it made me feel. And this is what and if it helps, write it down. If you can just check through that mentally, that's awesome. But you got to be specific about it. And then you say, so what you're doing is you are charging the debt. You are saying, this is what you owe me. You owe me for this, and for this, and for this, and for this. Let it out. I mean, just let it out. This is not something that takes 15 seconds. It may take you a day or two. But just let it, everything, burp it up. Here it is. Okay? Second thing you do, then you say, I am canceling this debt. Sally, you did this to me, and this, and this, and this, and this, and it made me feel this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And so I am canceling all of this. You no longer owe me. That's how to forgive. Saying, I forgive you won't cut it. A debt has to be canceled. And then you refuse to hold the debt against them. Don't pick it back up. Because that's what's going to happen. The adversary is going to say, pick it back up. You didn't really forgive them. Yes, you did. Because when you forgave them, you canceled the debt. Are you still going to have memories about it? Yes, you are. But Arthur, I thought that God forgets about our sin. No, he doesn't. God loves you in spite of it. If somebody told you that God forgets about your sin, they were not talking about what the Bible says. Yeah, he cast your sin as far as east is from the west. That doesn't say he forgot about it. He canceled your debt. He said, they owe me, but I'm canceling the debt. Does that make sense? Okay. So, here's what I want to do. I want to help you through this for just a second. We're going to practice, okay? Your homework this week is you take some time and you sit there and you think through the people who have hurt you. So how do I know who that is? It's people who make you mad. People get on your nerves. Those people who have hurt you. And you sit down with them and you charge them the debt. And then you cancel the debt. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pray in just a moment. And so I want to ask you to do is if there's ever been anybody in your life that has hurt you, and that's like everybody in here, okay? I'm going to ask you in a minute, I'm going to ask you just to clench up your fist. Like that. And then I'm going to pray. And I'm going to ask you to name the person and to charge them with the debt. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to wind up our service a little different today. Okay? Because everybody here's been hurt. There are some people in this room, and you'll find this when you go online and get the stuff I put on our website today at southcrest.live/forgiveness. But some people in here, you need to forgive yourself. And there's something on there that will tell you how to do that. Some of you in here, you need to forgive God because you're mad at him. He did something to you, didn't do something, whatever. And you're angry at him. You need to forgive him. So all that is there for you to be able to walk through privately and personally. And, you know, and maybe it's somebody in your family, maybe it's somebody who's a friend, maybe it's somebody here. Maybe somebody said something to you here, not this morning, a while back. Somebody said something to you or didn't say something to you, did something here, didn't do something here. And you're still angry about it. Cancel a debt. Walk in freedom. Just cancel the debt. All right? So let's try this together, okay? So if you would, everybody bow their heads and everybody close their eyes. And it's especially important today because this is a very private and personal thing, okay? So it weirds you out a little bit to close your eyes in a room and there are lots of people. Nobody's moving around in here. The band's going to come out because after we do this, we're going to sing a song together. So the band's going to walk out here, but nothing else is going on in the room. It's just me.